All right, Larry Kruger here once again from the parking structure across from Levi's on a Monday before we head out to practice, and a little breakdown, a lot of Monday news and notes from the weekend. So let's get to it. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And this video is brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at claw_daddy_arcades to find a location near you. They've got 2 locations opening later on this year in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall. So thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring the Krug Show. All right. I'm kind of going from, training camp mode to regular season mode. So that means we kind of ratchet up the intensity, ratchet up the heat a little bit, and start getting a little bit more focused on the season ahead. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I've just got different modes. In the springtime, from like the bowl season through the draft, I'm in draft mode, and I'm just watching a lot of film, draft mode, all about the draft. Then after the draft, I really get into that kind of just like evaluation mode, and training camp is the end of that evaluation mode, where you're just kind of hanging out and you're watching and you're open-minded and you're just kind of seeing, what you see. Who looks good, who got old, who's in shape, who's not out of shape, kind of see the chemistry of the team come together. Get that vibe that they're, trying to get the vibe of the team as they're kind of growing together in the summer heat of Santa Clara. Then there's the preseason. Now we're right on the doorstep of pairing the roster from the training camp 90 down to 53, a vitally important part of the season. And then it's on. Then it's Lumen Field, Niners Seahawks, and bring on 2025. And hopefully, the goal, of course, is that here, Super Bowl Sunday, right? That's the goal, is to be here on Super Bowl Sunday representing the NFC. That's the Niners' goal. All right, so let's talk about all the different topics that we want to get into today. One, the Jauan Jennings thing. As we ratchet it up and we go from training camp smiley Krug, just observing, now I'm in more regular season mode and I need some answers. I need some clarity on this Jauan Jennings thing. What's the deal? Is it a calf injury? The Niners have maintained it's a calf injury. If it's a calf injury, then Shanahan's comments of, well, it's not that serious, make no sense because it's a calf injury that goes back to March or April. 6-month-long calf injuries are no big deal. So if it's literally on surface a calf injury, it's a bad calf injury and one that the Niners should be prepared to have to go without JJ this season. And that would be bad. Now, judging from Jauan's social media, he sounds pissed. He sounds like it's not a calf, that it's a calf and a contract. And so I think the questions that have to be asked to Kyle Shanahan is, are you guys having contract talks with Drew Rosenhaus on some alteration to Jauan's contract? And if the answer is no, then the second question is, are you concerned that that this could become a distraction, that you could have a really powerful veteran presence in your locker room, unhappy with his deal? He sounds angry on social media. What if he brings that anger into your room? Are you worried about that ripping apart your locker room, causing dissension? That question I think has to be asked. And I think those are the 2 primary questions. It's like, okay, if your stance is, hey, you know what, it's a calf injury and he's got a contract, it's not a contract, well then he's eventually going to get healthy. But his social media sounds like he's pissed about his contract. So are we just going to ignore that he's pissed? Is that just like, hey, you know what, everybody wants more money? Are you going to do something about him being pissed? Do you care that he's pissed? If he's pissed in your locker room 10 days from now, are you cool with that? We need a little bit more clarity on where the Niners are what you want. They're saying it's a calf, but if they come out in 5 days and announce an extension, I'm going to feel lied to, because you've been telling me all year it's a calf. Is the calf narrative buying you time on a negotiation with Rosenhaus? Either way, these questions now need to be asked. We've gone from training camp mode of, yeah, you know what, it's a calf, haha, we'll see, it'll work itself out, to it's nut cutting time. It's time to pare this thing down to 53, and we'll get into why the Jennings thing is a huge element of this in just a second. All right. This is also one of my favorite times of the year, because this is when you can start looking around. Preseason's done, and I've looked at every team in the NFL and what their projected roster is, and this is where guys fall through the cracks. And to me, one guy who I just would love to see here at Levi's with the Niners is for the Chargers, Marlowe Wax. Man, he was good. I mean, he was so good the other night. He's part of an incredibly crowded Chargers linebacking room, so he's probably not going to make the roster. This guy, though, in the preseason, finished the preseason with 18 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 2 TFLs, 1 pass breakup, and a forced fumble in 3 games. He was awesome Saturday night. Syracuse product. He was flying around. He was everywhere. He had 6 tackles. He had a sack of Carter Bradley. He had 2 hits on the quarterback. He had a pass breakup. He had a tackle for a loss. He had a forced fumble. Stuffed Guerendo twice for no gain. He sacked Carter Bradley. Later, he almost had an interception that he dropped in pass coverage. Supposedly, this guy's not going to make the Chargers. I would call Jim Harbaugh right now and offer him a day 3 pick and get that guy here. Marlowe Wax. Oh, my God. Have yourself a night. That guy looked outstanding. He's not going to make the Chargers. That tells you how good the Chargers are. By the way, my prediction for who's going to be in this game in Super Bowl 60, I'm going to go Niners-Chargers. Some of you may laugh at the Niner part, but the NFC, I think, is gettable, and I think Purdy's going to take it to another level and elevate the team with him. But I like Chargers and Niners here, the rematch of Super Bowl 29 in Super Bowl 60 right here at Levi's. How awesome would that be, by the way? Harbaugh against Harbaugh and Herbert against Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Oh, my God, with the world watching, it would be outstanding. That's the dream Super Bowl, and you have your dream and I'll have mine, all right? Okay. As far as Saturday night, who were the highest graded players according to PFF? Offensively, Tariq Owens. And by the way, congratulations to Tariq Owens. He's going to get cut, but he got a touchdown. He had a great moment. Watching that Saturday night, I was just very happy for Tariq Owens. Austin Pleasance and Isaiah Hodgins had good games. Pleasance, we'll see. I have Burford getting that final tackle spot on my final 53, but maybe Pleasance with that performance can eke his way in there. The highest graded Niners on defense, you know what? I said this to Robert Saleh the other day. I'm like, man, I like Trevis Gibson. And he said, hey, Gus Bradley said, hey, if we're going to go through all these players, we're going to find somebody. And sure enough, they found Trevis Gibson. Gibson was great the other night, putting heat on the quarterback off the edge. This guy had 7.5 sacks with the Bears not that long ago. He's a pretty good player. Nick Martin, 87.2 grade. He was second best of the night. So the lowest graded players on offense were Tongas, Carter Bradley, Braden Willis, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Matt Hennessy. The lowest graded defenders, Jalen Mahoney, Jalen Graham, Jacob Robinson, who broke his forearm, by the way, Jalen Allen, and Jonathan Garvin. If you had a low grade in that final preseason game, it looks like you could be headed off the roster. By the way, the highest graded Charger, Marlowe Wax, 93.7 in 48 snaps. Tanner Mordecai, I thought looked really good Saturday night, and we can talk about it. Carter Bradley, Mordecai was one, I thought looked really good. He was 10 of 13, 103 yards, a touchdown. He had a laser touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson. He demonstrated that 4.4 speed that he has on one play. And then you have Carter Bradley, who's one of the lowest graded players with a 35.9 grade. It's interesting. Matt Barrows makes the point. He tweeted out, I'm not sure why Tanner Mordecai has been yo-yoed on and off the roster this summer. His passer rating at the moment is 121.4, while Carter Bradley's is 50.3. So, I mean, if this was a fight, they would freaking stop it. I mean, they'd be like, pull him off. That's it. Carter Bradley's had enough. Cut it. You know what I mean? I mean, if this was a fight, they would stop it. So, I mean, I got to see Tanner Mordecai. I don't think either's going to make the roster, but I got to see Tanner Mordecai on that practice squad, and hopefully he makes it. I wouldn't mind if you had Tanner Mordecai and Carter Bradley, but I got to see Tanner Mordecai. Mordecai is better than Bradley. Bradley's got a big arm. Mordecai's got a really good arm, but also 4.4 speed, and he knows the offense better. We've barely seen Mordecai get a chance to really play. When he's played well. I mean, give this guy a shot. By the way, if you're going to have a guy come off the bench in relief of the starting quarterback, it's usually because the starting quarterback got hurt, and it's usually because the offensive line wasn't very good. So having a backup quarterback with a little mobility, Steve Young back in the day, is a good thing. So I would like to see Tanner Mordecai get that backup job. Austin Pleasance was the highest graded offensive lineman of the game. Connor Colby get the best run blocking grade. Michael Dunn, the new guard, post the top pass blocking grade. We'll see if that helps him make the roster. Trevis Gibson, as I said, 4 total pressures, 3 hurries. He was great. Robert Beal had the best game he has ever had with the Niners. He had 5 pressures. We'll see if it's too little too late for Beal as he tries to get a roster spot with the 49ers. Sebastian Valdez cinched his spot, in my opinion. He had a great preseason. 58 pass rush snaps, 4 pressures, half a sack, 6 tackles, 3 hits on the quarterback. I thought he was good in this game. He can beat you with power. He can beat you to the edges. I think Valdez has got to make it. Brian Robinson, by the way, officially, the Niners officially announced that trade. So that trade is official. Brian Robinson comes from the Commanders to the Niners for a conditional 6th-round pick in 2026. And, when you think about it, when you look at what the Niners traded, got for Jordan Mason, and then what they're paying, what they, had to pay Jordan Mason compared to what they're paying, what they're going to pay Robinson. And then also you got a draft pick that you turned into Marquise Siegel. I mean, the people were like, oh, they blew it with Mason. Well, first of all, they didn't blow it with Mason. Mason needed a change of scenery. Trust me when I say that. And 2, essentially was Mason. It's almost like a trade. It was Mason for Siegel and Robinson. Who wouldn't make that trade? Everybody would make that trade. That's an amazing trade for the Niners. So, I look at it through that lens. There was a great, FanDuel had the rankings of the top backup quarterbacks in football. They list, I wanted to see where Mac Jones checks in. He checks in at 7. These are the backups they say are better than Mac Jones. Kirk Cousins, Jackson Dart. I mean, come on. We're going to judge this off 1 minute. Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota, Jake Browning, and Anthony Richardson. So all these people are like, Anthony Richardson's horrible. According to FanDuel, he's a better backup than Mac Jones. Anyway, Mac Jones checks in at 7. But I was looking at this list. The worst backup quarterback in the entire league, they say, is Brandon Allen in Tennessee. They also had, I thought they had Gardner Minshew's a good backup. They had him at 18. That's too low. They had Tanner McKee at 20. That's too low. They had Tyson Bagent at 21. I think that's too low. You got those guys behind Tyrod Taylor, Malik Willis, Jacoby Brissett, and Joe Milton? Really? You really want to put your season on the line, your quarterback goes out, you can go to Joe Milton or Gardner Minshew or Tanner McKee, and you'd rather go to Joe Milton? FanDuel, you may need a better football analyst. There are 9 NFL starting quarterbacks that did not play at all in the preseason. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, and Michael Penix. How about that? Michael Penix, who has 3 games of NFL experience, and yet the Chargers said no, or the Falcons said nope, we're not going to play him in the preseason. Amazing. That is amazing. Also, the Niners, what is the biggest key to this season? It's health. The Niners have been the most injured team in 2020. They went 6-10. They were the most injured team last year. They went 6-11. They have been the most injured team this summer. If they wind up being the most injured team again, they're going to win 6 or 7 games. That's the reality. Health matters in the NFL. Tonight on Niners Nightly, we'll be on KMBR. We're going to debate who was the most impressive player in the preseason. Definitely Nick Martin's on the list. Oh, Dave Lombardi had an interesting stat. Chase Lucas Saturday night played all 35 of his snaps on the outside corner. He'd been exclusively in the slot in the first 2 games. Very interesting. Why is that an interesting nugget? Because that means that they're trying to show Lucas, or trying to get Lucas to show that he's got some versatility so they can use him as the backup corner. If you can only play the slot and you can't stand up on the island, you know, the other guys may push in front of you. As far as the Niner wide receiver room, it's the most interesting room to watch at the deadline. We started off talking about JJ. Here's why. The Niners have 13 receivers under contract. Pearsall, Jennings, Gage, Watkins, Chosen, Sky Moore, Junior Bergen, Tariq Owens, Isaiah Hodgins, Malik Turner, Brandon Ayuk, Jacob Cowing, Demarcus Robinson. They'd like to keep 5 or 6 on the roster. They only have 3 guys healthy and ready to go. The only guys who are ready to go out of that 13 are Pearsall, Chosen, and Sky Moore. That's it. Jennings has the calf contract. Gage has the MCL sprain. Watkins has a high ankle sprain. Bergen's going to be cut. Owens is cut. Hodgins will be cut and goes to the practice squad. Turner will get cut. Ayuk's on the PUP. Cowing's going to the IR. And Demarcus Robinson is suspended for the first 3 games. So do the Niners have depth at wide receiver? They got a lot of guys, but they don't have any guys they can use right now. I mean, if they want to, they have 3 wide receivers, and one of them's got here the other day, and the other one's Robbie Chosen. So you have 1 wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall. 1. That's unbelievable. After watching Niners Chargers, the guys who looked awesome to me: Nick Martin, Tanner Mordecai, Demarcus Robinson, Trevis Gibson, Darrell Luter, Sebastian Valdez. Those guys all looked really, really good to me. Also, William Bradley King, I think I like him on the practice squad. Saron Neal, I thought, had a really good game. And Curtis Robinson. I mean, great story. The pick 6. I don't think I would put him on the active roster, but I'd put him on the practice squad. I was impressed by Trickweez Bridges, the corner from the Chargers, and I mentioned Marlowe Wax already. One interesting thing that Lombardi had as well at the cut down: the Niners are number 11 in the waiver claim. There's going to be 1,100 and something number of players put out on the street on Tuesday. A lot of these guys will go through waivers. The Niners are 11th overall in the waiver claim. So there's 10 teams in front of them that could claim Marlowe Wax, let's just say, if that was a guy they were after. As far as Nick Martin, if you want to keep track of his preseason, week 1, his PFF grade, 31.6. Week 2, 61.3. This last game, 87.2. Nick Martin taking off as we watch. We'll talk about this tonight on Niners Nightly as well, but who are some good players who have been cut thus far? I'll give you a handful of guys that I like that I've seen already. Eagles cut Giles Jackson from Antioch, the wide receiver from UW. Little receiver, a lot of speed, big play guy. I really like him. Mario Williams, same thing. Rams cut him. He's a big play guy. Looked great in the preseason. That's a guy that I would get in here for sure. If you don't like Jake Moody, Caden Davis, the Ole Miss kicker, got cut by somebody. He's got a huge leg. I'd bring him in for a tryout. Jamin Davis, the former linebacker who's they tried at defensive end. Robert Saleh had him with the Jets. He's interesting. The Jets cut him loose, but he's an athlete. If they're looking for edge pieces, Guys who can heat up the quarterback, he might be interesting. Lewis Cine, the Niners don't like their safety play. Cine, once upon a time, was a first-round pick. He was cut. Raheem Jarrett, the Maryland receiver, that is a guy actually with the Niners receiver issues that I would absolutely get in here like now, like right now. I would sign him. I'd get him out here. He'd be at practice. Raheem Jarrett would literally be at practice today if I ran the Niners. And then La'el Collins was also cut. Also, Miami cut Mike Hilton, the nickelback, pretty good player. Jasheen Davis, pass rusher, was cut by the Saints. Cam Akers was cut by the Saints. Also, one other guy to keep an eye on for the Niners, New England is shopping Kyle Duggar. He signed a 4-year, $58 million deal in April of 2024. He's being paid $9.75 million this year. They're cutting him loose. They're going to trade him. I think the Niners ought to get in line for Kyle Duggar. He's the kind of safety that I think they really could use. He's a really good young player. I don't know why New England is moving him, but that's a guy I would definitely want. All right, those are just some quick thoughts on a Monday. The sun is coming out. I'm going to put on some lotion. We're going out to practice. We'll talk to some players afterward. We'll give you the complete report, and then join me tonight at 6 on KMBR for a full breakdown. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades, and thanks to you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.